I am Boysen Hodgson. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director for the ManKind Project USA, and I'm here with Patrick this afternoon. And Patrick, thank you for taking the time to spend with me, and please introduce yourself.
Great. My name is Patrick Mureithi. I am working on a documentary called Kenya Until Hope is Found, and it's about a gathering of 10 victims and 10 perpetrators of the post-election violence that took place in Kenya in 2007 and early 2008. I consider this more than just about the Kenyan story or the African story. It's really about the human story, about the need to forgive in order to carry on with our lives. And I invite your support. If you're willing to consider being a part of this project, I would really appreciate your help, because this is a film that I cannot complete without the help of others. I traveled to Rwanda in 2007, and I had the opportunity to film a gathering of 10 survivors and 10 perpetrators of the genocide in Rwanda. And this is a project that took me about 3 years to complete. So I traveled back and forth to Rwanda from 2007 until 2009. And it was life-changing, because I saw survivors and perpetrators of what some have called one of the most brutal and the most efficient genocides in known human history. Learning about post-traumatic stress disorder, realizing that what they were suffering from was actually trauma. It was not insanity. They were not cursed. That what they had was a natural human response to unnatural events, and that they were not alone. That survivors realized other survivors are dealing with trauma, but they also realized some perpetrators are dealing with trauma as well. And the participants realized that they're more similar than they are different, that they're all suffering from trauma. And after living for a decade plus in fear and animosity and bitterness and anger, some of them were willing to try something different. Some of them were willing to begin the process of forgiveness. I tell people I can actually divide my life emotionally from before working on Ichizere Hope, which is the name of the documentary, and after working on it. When I saw the people go through the process that they did, it made me ask questions of myself. What bitterness, what anger am I holding on to that is keeping me from being the type of father, the type of human being that I really want to be. In December of 2007, the violence in Kenya broke out. And it was shocking to me. I was back in the US. I was editing the first version of Ichizere Hope. And I saw it in Newsweek and Time magazine and all the international media that, in effect, Kenya is burning. There's political violence that has broken out that's shocked the nation, shocked a lot of countries around the world that saw Kenya as an island of peace in that region of turmoil. And I was very surprised by that. And I went to Kenya in 2008, hearing talk about the need to reconcile. It was mentioned by almost everyone, we need to reconcile. I mean, the violence was so devastating. About 500,000 people were displaced from their homes. Approximately 1,200 people were killed. The country was traumatized. And that watched Ichizere Hope in Kenya in 2008 said, this is what has happened in our country. While Rwanda's was on a much larger scale, they said the same type of circumstances have led to the post-election violence in Kenya. Mm-hmm. The similarities being the violence was politically motivated. There was effective use of propaganda, roads set up where your ID determined whether you lived or you died. Stand against neighbor when they used to borrow sugar from each other. And actually it was political. People were protesting, feeling like their voice wasn't heard, their vote was stolen, and then eventually it became tribal. and its people have been very severely affected by what has happened. And, there's a lot of unresolved trauma around this issue. And in my opinion, if the trauma is not addressed, then it's almost guaranteed that there will be repeated cycles of violence. And so what I'm trying to do with this documentary is, through the power of storytelling, tell the story of victims and perpetrators of Kenya's post-election violence. 10 victims and 10 perpetrators in a slum called Kibera, which is Kenya's largest slum and the second largest slum in Africa. And through their stories, it's my hope that when I go back to Kenya in October, God willing, and show the film on a national level, but rather it's a film that says, here are people that were at the heart of the violence, that had to flee for their lives, that took part in attacks and retaliatory attacks, and they are brave enough to face their pain. And they're coming out on the other end as more complete, more serene individuals. And hopefully it'll do for many in Kenya what it did for me, which is it'll make them really look in their own lives and think, what's holding me back and how can I begin to address it? And that, I think, is the power of media. It has been used to divide and destroy many times. There's many examples of that, but it can also be used to unite and to heal. Hello, my name is Patrick Mureithi. I am working on a documentary called Kenya Until Hope is Found, and I would be honored if you would consider being a part of this film. I can't complete it without your help.